Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel for another video. So over the past couple of months, I've had a lot of people ask me to do a tutorial on doing skin tones without an airbrush and only using these type of brushes. So if you've seen any of my videos, you see that I use a hyper-realistic type paint style. So that's the type of skin tones that we're going to be using today. So in this video, we're going to be covering a couple of things. One, how to thin your paints correctly. Two, how to use shading. 3, wet blending. And 4, we're going to go back over how to do an eye properly. So every artist has their own unique style that they use. So this is neither right nor wrong. This is just to help you maybe incorporate some of this stuff into your own style and techniques, and maybe hopefully help some people learn how to get better at painting. That is the whole purpose of these videos, is to better help you in the long run. So this video is meant for those that don't have an airbrush. I just can't afford one right now. I don't have the space for one. My wife says, hell no, you ain't spraying that stuff in here. Hopefully this helps you out. If it does at the end of the video, make sure to hit that like button for me, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So today's model that we're going to be using is this Doctor Strange head. The head is usually the most important piece of a statue. It is the focal point, and we're going to complete this head sculpt, and that video starts right now. And don't forget, I do have a Patreon. We have a Discord where we talk about stuff like this all day long. So you want to use the water in order to thin your paint out enough to where you can apply it without being bulky and losing a lot of your details, but thick enough to where you can actually get some coverage. I like to use a sweeping motion in each coat, almost like I'm dry brushing, to get a good consistent coverage. This usually takes anywhere from 2 to 3 layers. Just make sure that you allow the layers to dry in between. Now this isn't a process where you're going to be adding a ton of layers into the shading. You're basically just going to use the colors that you got here, the red and the skin tone, and you can adjust to get any pinks or reds, or a lighter flesh tone or a darker flesh tone. You can add some browns if you want, but for this right here, I'm just using this red and the flesh tone, and that's it. I'm basically adjusting the color to where I'm pretty happy with going in and getting a good pink or a red and going into the recesses. I'm getting the paint thin enough to where I can actually blend this once I got it to where I want it to go. What I'm doing here on my hand is I'm making sure that I got a good consistency and it's not too thin. So what I like to do is I like to go into the eyes, the hair, the hairline, the nose, the chin, the lips, and I like to make my adjustments from there after I mix up the skin tone to blend in with the undertones. So what I will do is once I go into these areas, I will later on go and thin my paint even further and get a really good wet coat and mix it up and go back in and adjust these by blending them two together. And then after that, I will actually thin it out with a little bit more water to make it even thinner to go in and do any type of fixing or any adjustments. So you always want to check your paint to make sure you have a good consistency with what you're trying to do, especially if you're trying to blend the paints together. If you put it on too thick, it's just going to be a harsh line and it's not going to blend very well. Apply it in even wet coats and adjust accordingly. And it's okay if you get an area too pink or too red or too light. You can always adjust it by going in and doing the same thing. What you want to do is to thin your paints out a little further with water. That way it's that much easier to blend. So don't forget about the areas like the cheekbones and the forehead where there is the blood coming through. And again, on the high points of the cheekbones, not under the cheekbones, but on top of the cheekbones, you can always make those adjustments by adding a little bit more of the flesh tone on top of the pink. What I like to do is once I do the hairline, I like to work down the face. I like to actually go ahead and blend from the hairline down to the forehead and make sure I get a good coverage where the skin actually comes out from the blood underneath the skin. So once you do this a little bit more and more, you'll understand where the recesses actually need to fall into place, where you will see that blood under the skin such as the crevices under the eyes, the lips, the underneath the cheekbones, and the jawline. So once you're to a comfortable point with the face, it's always a good idea to go in and do the hair. In this case, it's a darker hair, so we want to make sure that we don't want to go back into the hairline and do any adjustments with any undertones. And of course, once you add the eyebrows, you can look at the eyes and tell if you want to make any adjustments there. Believe it or not, when you add the hair, the color of the hair to the model, it actually opens up a whole range of contrast for you. You may feel that the tones are too light, but once you add the hair, you'll see that they might even out for you. So now that I have the base coat on the hair and the goatee, we're going to go ahead and do some dry brushing on the hair, and we're going to put the white on the sideburns, and then next we're going to move on to the eyes. So for the sideburns, all I'm going to do is just dry brush a little bone white on this right here over that. That way it still has a little bit of depth into it, and just brings out a little bit of highlight on it. Alright, and there we have it. And the next thing we're going to do is move on to the eyes. Alright, so two things. I always use an off-white for the eyes, and I always use my very thin brush here. This is actually, I made this brush. I cut out a lot of the bristles, so it's basically like almost 4 hairs. And you can do this too as well. But this is what I use for extra fine details and inks. So one thing I do different than most people is I'll take and run a bead of like a very dark brown. I really don't run a black up on the eye on the top part. I do not cover in the whole eye. I think it's unnecessary. So what I do is I just get in and just go onto the top area. And run that. That covers basically your eyelashes. And then what I will do is I will go in with the white. Like so. And cover up the whole entire white area of the eye. And I'll do that on both. Next, what I'll do is I'll take some of the color like this. It doesn't have to be this exact same color. And I'll thin it down really thin and put it into the bottom of the eyelid, into the inner part of the eye. That way it kind of gives a little bit of a blood effect, because the bottom of the inside of your eyelid is a little pinkish red. And with that, you get something like this. Now we're ready to put in the pupil. So next what you're going to do is you're going to put in the iris. All right. So then I will go back in and I'll put the black over the top of it. I will not put a white dot showing any type of light or anything like that, because that is not what hyperrealism is about. But we'll actually take and go back in and put this dot into the center. All right, and there you have it, everyone. The most important thing to remember is always add your clear coat onto your eyes and your lips. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to seal this, and then we're going to add that gloss on there, and that is it. Oh, looks like I got a mark on there. I get a lot of people asking me what I seal my models with, and this is it right here. This is gold in a can. This stuff right here will accentuate your colors and bring them out without giving it a glossy feel to it. It's a flat. They do make a gloss and a matte. The flat makes it feel all natural. Doesn't have any sheen to it at all. But I got this at Lowe's, and I won't use anything else. This is the clear coat of choice that I use for all of my models that you see in my videos. Next, I will use a gloss varnish to do the eyes and the lips. Any gloss varnish will be fine. All right, everybody, this is the end result right here. You can definitely obtain a quality finish without an airbrush. Just using patience and picking out the right skin tone, mixing it up correctly the way you want it, and applying thin layers and using wet blending to blend in your shadows and your undertones. And yeah, this is it. A lot of you have been asking for it, and I hope this helps you out. So there you have it, everyone. I hope this was of some use to you, and if it was, please don't forget to hit that like button, and also leave me a comment below, maybe sharing some of your experiences with this video or any other video that I've done in the past. And don't forget, I am on TikTok and Instagram. If you have any questions that I could probably help you out with, by all means, let me know. And again, put them in the comment section below if you need to do that as well. So as usual, everybody, stay safe out there. Thank you for watching. And until the next video, we'll see you and have a good day. Isn't he a big kitty cat?